excited because this weekend was thank you for recording, Ashton. This weekend was your last big weekend, and we are officially in taper. And so these next couple of days, it's all about shedding that fatigue, and then it's about sharpening up, just getting those legs ready, keeping them understanding of what you're about to do in 2 weeks' time. But definitely, if there's a time to like really back off and absorb the training and take care of the body, it's right now. I would do that rather than wait. I would also look at this next week to get everything ready. You don't want to wait till race week and then panic and last minute you have to buy something. And so get out all the equipment that you need. If you're going to be traveling with your bike, get that bike box out, make sure everything is there, also ready to pack. And then while the load is low. And then as you should feel this next week, I would say definitely trust kind of the workouts that you have coming. You will want to, for some, you'll want to push harder. For some, you'll want to back off anymore. I'd say the key thing here is to keep that frequency and routine. So like we have our typical routine of swim, bike, run. Keep that going. Keep that body familiar with all the disciplines rather than completely take off. And then if you are still feeling like you need to back off a little bit, then just shorten it a little bit, but still get out there and do it. And each day you'll find yourself coming around. And the hope is that in a week's time, your body you would be in a state of like, did I even train for this thing? Granted, you did train for this thing and you are really ready, but that is the goal of the taper, is that you get to a state of being just really, really fresh for the day that's to come. So we are going to go, Ashton, thank you very much, created a nice little spreadsheet, slideshow for us to go through just the details of the day. Can we see a show of hands? How many of you guys, this is your first Ironman ever? If you can put your hands up. Perfect. So Sammy, you can put your hand up on the bottom, or you can raise your hand. Okay, so just Sammy. Everyone else has done an Ironman before, is that correct? Okay, and then Ironman Texas, so we got another one. Paul. Who's never done? We got Luke, Victor. Ironman Texas, never done Ironman Texas before, so this is your first. Yina, okay. Awesome. Guys, I'm going to speak to it as if you've not done it, and just maybe a refresher on the gear bags and everything else. As we go through the slides, ask questions. How you can do that is you can type it below. Where is it? Yeah, you can see on the right where there's a little box with lines. You can type in your questions there, or you can put up your hand and I'll come to you. So if you can, go ahead. If you've put up your hand, put your hand down, and then I'll know to come to you, and Ashton can call on you if you put on your hand and you have a question. We do have Coach Alice, who is raced this race 4 times as a professional. She's going to be weighing in on some of the parts of the course. I know Coach Parker is here as well. We have some other coaches on here that have done this race, and so I'm definitely going to be asking on you guys. Coach Megan, you've done this race before, to share your insight with everybody. So let's get rolling. I'm going to pull up the presentation. There we go. Okay, guys, do you all see this? Okay, so we're going to kind of fall into just some general logistics and then just move through. This is new. If you've never done an Ironman, this is something you'll expect, is that when you check in, you can check in starting on Wednesday afternoon and Thursday. Note that you cannot check in on Friday to get your gear back. That's the day that you're actually dropping everything off. So if hopefully you've all made your travel plans to get there early enough to get there on Wednesday or Thursday. Note that I will be there from Wednesday and setting up at the Ironman Expo. So as soon as you get your packet, you walk through, there's a village. We're going to have a raw tent there, and I will be there pretty much all day. So if you guys have any last minute questions that maybe we didn't cover today, feel free to come over and ask me those questions. But you will get these in your packet along with, usually you get your chip on race morning or in this packet as well. But you need to know that you're going to be putting all your things the day before into these gear bags. You can access them on race morning if you need to put in a final bottle or something that you want to keep cold overnight. But otherwise, you're going to be putting everything that you need for the bike in the blue gear bag, and then everything you need for the run in the red gear bag. What I personally like to do is, as soon as I get to the Woodlands in the hotel, I immediately lay out everything that's going to go into that blue bag. I lay it out there. I look at it every day until it's time to pack it away. Same thing for the red, etc. So does anyone have any questions? Alice, do you want to add anything about these 2 gear bags?
Yeah, I'm almost positive, but check me, that your now I can't think what it's called, tracker. I'm almost positive they give it to you after you drop your bike on the way out as you're leaving transition. That's what it was last year, and that's what it's been for all my races since. So you might not get it until you drop your bike and then you're leaving. So you still need to have your QR code available to get that after you drop your bike. Almost positive. And then yeah, you will have access to these on race morning. So any nutrition and stuff that you want to add, or things you want to add to your bike race morning, you can do all that in the morning. But yeah, blue bike, red run.
Perfect. Yeah, the only thing on the chip, I know that in the past, they have the swim on the Friday morning, which we're doing as a team. A lot of the times you actually need to wear your
Oh yeah. All
for
right.
that swim.
I could be totally wrong then.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll find out when you get your bag.
It's not
And
important. Yeah, you'll get it regardless.
I think actually, if I remember correctly, last year they gave it to you. They gave you a tracker to wear when you were lining up to go swim. I think it was.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it's really not important. Just know that you absolutely need to make sure you have one, at least by the time you're going to bed before the race.
Perfect. Yeah. And then
one more tip for the tracker. What I do, and you can try it out, but I always safety pin or bobby pin it on my ankle, because I think it's usually Velcro. And my very first race, I heard some people saying that, in the swim, sometimes, people can hit it, it can fall off. So what I always do is I always safety pin where you Velcro it. I've never had any issues with, it bugging me during the run or a bike or anything like that. So if that's something you want to look into, just make sure to bring some safety pins, or just grab an extra few when you get your bib number when you check in.
Okay, perfect. That's a great tip, just to be assured that you don't lose your tracker. Then here are gear bags to bring on race morning. You'll get a clear one. That's going to be your morning clothes bag. Guys, what I personally do is everything that I need for the swim, I put in that morning clothes bag, and that's what I carry to the swim start. And then when I'm at the swim start, we're going to have a little flag. So you can all, right by where you line up to go for the swim, and you can see us, and we usually all meet there race morning. We're putting on wetsuits or swim skins. And at that point, you put down your gear bag, you take out everything you need for your swim, you take off the clothes that you're wearing, your run shoes, etc. You put that in the morning clothes bag, and it's going to be right there for you to drop off right before you line up for the swim start. I saw a question come in. Is that correct, Ashton? Yeah.
Mackenzie was clarifying, you're going to get your timing chip at check-in.
Okay, that is perfect. And that you will need to have that and your wristband for the Friday swim. Yeah, that is key. Yes. Every year people show up for that swim and they don't bring it, and then they can't swim and they have to go back and come back. So definitely have that with you. Then guys, the other things you need, you'll get these morning gear bags. These bags are dropped off at also the swim start. So you're going to be carrying with you to the swim start your morning clothes bag, as well as your special needs bags for the bike and the run. And so as this says here, it's just basically bike special needs. It's anything you might need. A lot of people, if they take their own nutrition, you take your own nutrition to get through, say, 56 miles of the course. And then can we look at exactly what point the special needs is? What mileage? Do you guys know what mileage it is?
I think it's 62.
Okay.
But that's pure memory. It's after you turn to start your second loop.
Okay.
But if someone can look at the course, that'd be helpful. But my memory is 62.
Okay, great. Yeah. So just if you are taking your own fuel, then you can put your fuel in that special needs, and then you get to it at mile 62. You throw away the bottles on your bike and you take your bottles with your own nutrition. And then what I also like to put in there is just extra salt for sure, in case you drop your salt, and then an extra tube, an extra CO2. Yeah, Mackenzie, thank you, Mackenzie. It says mile 62. Yeah, just some incidentals for just in case. And then the run, kind of the same thing. A lot of folks I know, as it's written here, might put in some sunscreen, some chafe cream might be very helpful. I know some people like a specific energy drink. I always put in extra salt. This race is extremely humid, and that's something that kind of plagues athletes on race day. Another thing is, and Alice and Parker, I'd love to hear what you guys put in your special needs, but some people put maybe Tums or something if their stomach's going to be upset. I know for this course, the swim is very dirty, and it might not hit you right away on the bike if you swallowed some water, but for sure it might actually come and only haunt you in the run. So I would say something to settle your stomach. What have you guys taken in the past, Megan, Alice, Parker, to settle your stomach? Imodium. Okay.
I've taken Imodium, and kind of back to the bike special needs. Sometimes that can get a little hectic where it's at on the side. So just kind of be mindful of that if you're going to get special needs. And then the same thing for the run. It's in like a park, and so there's always like a ton of people around there. So just be cautious. You yell out your number if you want to get your run special needs. And for run special needs, I put like an extra Red Bull. I put Imodium. I put extra salt. I always say anything that might be a treat, that might make you feel better, that you want to look forward to, something like that, or something you may think you actually really need. So, but remember, you won't, if you put it in special needs, you won't get it back. So maybe think about that too, something that you're not going to be like, oh, I need that back, something that can just be actually thrown away.
Perfect. And then those that are going to feel like they might be out there till like 9, 10 o'clock at night, you might considering putting in a headlamp as well, because there are parts of the course that get very, very dark. If we were somewhere that it might be cool, we even say, hey, maybe put a long sleeve, but most likely that's not going to be the case at Ironman Texas. But that's what you'd want to do in your special needs as well. Anything else I missed before I move on from this page, you guys? Okay. Yeah, they're just laid out at different spots on the course, and you can access it on the run and on the bike. You have a chance to access it twice, and so you have to decide when you want to get it. Most people, get it later on in the race when you might need it versus that first mile. I think you get to it about mile 1 on the run, and then again, that next loop.
So you get it you can get it 3 times because it's usually, but you can only get it once. So know that if you take your own special needs, it then disappears and you cannot get it in a future.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to talk about race morning, and then Alice, I'm going to let you talk about the swim after this. So prepare you, and then we can divide it up, Megan and Parker, if you guys want to take on the bike and the run. So guys, this is the biggest thing that you need to know. The transition is where the transition is set up and where the swim start is. It's very far. It's like a 10 to 15 minute walk, easy. Okay. In the dark. So make sure you get there early to set up your transition. Race morning, the first thing you're going to go do is you're going to pump up your tires. You're going to check on your bike, get everything on your bike that you need, make sure it's ready to go. Obviously, if you need to put anything in your gear bags, you go and do that. But the only thing next to your bike, there's nothing next to your bike except for, I think you can put your helmets on there now, or is it all in your gear bags now? Okay.
It's gear bags, except I think
the pros.
Correct.
It's different.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different for me, so I can't.
Okay, so all your things outside of your bike go into that gear bag. And then there's a change tent. So those that have never done an Ironman before, you come out of the swim, there's wetsuit strippers, you run through a chute, you pick up your bag, you go into a change tent. If you wanted to do a full clothing change, you can do so. There's a male tent, there's a woman's tent, and then you run to your bike. You usually drop off your, I don't know why I'm going there already. I'm talking about race morning, but I'm already going there. I just realized. So anyway, you'll drop everything there. Let me go back to race morning. You set up all your stuff, and then you want to walk over to the swim start because it's 15 minutes. So some of you guys, that walk is going to be your warm-up, okay? And you're going to get there. You might do some activation, some mobility, just to get the body loose and feeling good for race day. As I said, we'll have a little flag. You can find us there. We can help you with your wetsuits if you need that help. For others, I encourage you might even do a little bit of a jog, do some run drills and stuff on the way there. That's something I always used to do. I'd be like walking along people and doing some karaoke and some butt kicks and that just to get my body loosened up. And then as you see here, the male start is the pros. They're going to start in the water, 6:25. The females right after. Age group rolling start, 6:38. Rolling start meaning you're actually coming down to the water off a boat dock, and you just basically are walking into the water and starting your swim directly to the right, which we'll have Alice take. I will say with this, it's a pretty big chute where you can kind of fall into the side with where you need to go based on where you want to start, but be prepared. A lot of people are already lining up. I want to say like 6:10, 6:15. They're like finding their spot, especially if you're someone who wants to be in the very front. So just prepare for that. Okay, I see some notes coming in, and then do you normally walk to the swim start or have someone drop you off? Yeah, walk. The best place to park, you guys, I have found
The HEB.
there's the HEBs right there. If you can get a spot, it's right across from the transition. However, there's also a Whole Foods that is right across from the swim. And so that is where I always personally park. So family, they can come, they can park there, they can go watch you swim, and then they can go get a snack afterwards at Whole Foods or HEB. It's all right there. The cool thing about this course, Alice, I'll let you talk about it as far as you can see really well your swimmers. So last thing of race morning tips, bring a headlamp. Yes, it can be dark, especially walking to the swim start. You're always sipping on water and electrolytes because it's a long way to go. Very key to wear some running shoes. Please do not wear flip-flops. That's a long way to walk without much protection of your feet. And then expect to line up really early. Okay, this is not coming through. Let's see here. What should I do here, Ashton?
You may have to open it actually versus just previewing it.
Okay.
Download it. Yeah. Upper.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go back and do that. Alice, do you want to speak to everyone about the swim?
Yeah. Hopefully Natasha can get that working, because I think it'd be helpful to see
See
it.
it.
But
Yeah.
so typically wetsuit, 2021, I was not a pro and I was in a swim skin. So it can be either. But most likely you guys will be in wetsuits. Yeah, so as Natasha said, you guys start kind of rolling. Basically, you walk in and then you have a sharp right, and then you'll swim. The way I break it down, and it's not exact, but it kind of is, you swim 1/3 of the distance out, 1/3 of the distance back, and then 1/3 of the distance down the canal. As Natasha was saying, the cool part about this course is that you are swimming in the canal, which is really nifty because your family, friends, spectators, whatever, can see you swim if they can recognize you. I mean, it's always hard to pick someone out, but yeah, and you can kind of hear and see everyone along the water, which is great. I wish I could see the picture because there is, I want to say there's 2 bridges, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I got it.
And I wish I remembered. I think one is 300 meters out, which is a helpful little like mental thing to know that you're almost there. Ooh, I wish I knew if that was right.
Hold on a second.
I don't think it actually will show us how far out it is, but one of the bridges, you're like, all right, I'm almost there. One thing is that it is not very clean water, as we talked about. If you're going to take something before it, please practice. Don't have that be like the first time you've ever taken Imodium in your life. And 2, if you like hit twigs or grossness, that's just what it is. Just keep going. And then sometimes in the canal, there's like trash. This is really not making it sound ideal, but it's really not ideal. Yeah,
Alice, can I stop you for a second? Ashton, can you see if you can download it and pull it up on your side?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if you hit some debris, just keep on keeping on and know that that's there and that's okay. And then, yeah, so you're going down the canal, and then your swim exit will be on the left side. And so you'll swim, and then know that as you're climbing out of the water, the stairs can feel kind of like steep. So really go like hands and knees and feet to get up. And there's people there helping kind of like get you out and get you going from horizontal to vertical, and they're wonderful. And then just like yes, you can run that transition, but you can always walk too to kind of like find your balance depending on how experienced of a swimmer you feel like you are. Oh yeah, okay, here's a picture. That's super helpful. So like as I was saying, 1/3 out, 1/3 back, 1/3 along the canal. That's not exact, but it's really great mentally to know that that's there. The sun, can I have help here? Where is the sunrise?
Usually in the right, like the right corner. So when you make the turn at the first buoy, it's then at your like
Face.
side back. Yeah. So like face and then you go left. So it's like the corner by the dragon at the end of the lake. That's just what I remember because that's where like the turn buoy is out there.
Yeah. So you have it on your back on the way out, then like kind of to your side to the right on the way back, right? And then you are not affected by the sun once you're in the canal, which is really great. So I personally wear clear goggles. I don't know what others have done who've raced this before.
Clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Okay. That's good. If anyone else, the coaches want to add anything, otherwise we can go to the next part. I believe we've spoken about this on the swim. So let's go to the bike course. Parker, do you want to take the bike course and explain it to folks? Is he here still?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I can. It's kind of, there's not too much to say. Yeah, it's kind of. I think the bike is probably, I don't know. The swim's probably the worst part. The bike's the second worst part of the course. The run is. They say the best for last. Let's put it that way. So the run is definitely the best, but the bike course, it's definitely, you do like a little bit of like kind of, if I remember correctly, there's like an out and back, and then
That's
you
10 to
had,
12 miles.
yeah, like 12 miles. So if you are like racing or you're looking for people, that's actually the first, or that's a good part to kind of see where you are in relation to others that you may be trying to bridge up to, or you had a plan. I may try to ride with them later on in the race. So that's kind of your first good part to see where you are, how far back you are, how far ahead of anyone you are. And after you do that, kind of out and back, then you kind of get put onto the highway, and then it's pretty much, I think it's 3 loops, correct?
2 loops.
Two loops. So it's, yeah, 2 loops of an out and back on a highway. And some years, I remember last year it was super windy. We had a really bad headwind going out. I think the first year I did it, it wasn't too windy. It wasn't as bad as Galveston, but you're in Texas, so, and it's relatively flat, so expect some winds regardless. Yeah, and if you have a headwind going one way, you're probably going to have a tailwind coming back. So just know that there's something to look forward to. But yeah, you're pretty much on a highway for the most part of it. I think the road conditions aren't terrible. I don't think they're amazing, but from what I heard at Oceanside, it sounded like those were pretty bad road conditions. So I think it's better than that. But it's, yeah, a typical highway. You're riding on the shoulder. I know at the beginning and at the end there are quite a few turns and whatnot. So just make sure you are cognizant of that. I know one of the pros one year took a wrong turn. But as long as you pay attention, keep your head up. It's always, there's always markings and whatnot. So just keep your eyes out, and yeah, you'll be fine. And yeah, there are special needs on the bike course as well. So if you are going to be using that, just make sure you know where it is, because usually there are quite a few people there, so you're going to need to slow down a little bit. And yeah, so just make sure you're not going 25 miles an hour and all of a sudden you need special needs and you need to stop suddenly. So just make sure you know where it is, you have an eye out on that, and so you slow down ahead of time if needed.
Awesome.
Can someone look at the map? And it's very helpful, like math wise, and just like breaking it down mentally. And I remember I knew it last year and I can't remember. So I think it's 12 to get to the start of the loop. And then I think, is it 20? Would that make sense? 2, 4, 6, 8, 92. Yeah, like 20-ish till the first turn, then 20-ish back, then 20. Okay, Mackenzie,
Yeah.
yes, 20. So like mentally, that's really helpful. So you're going to get to the start of the course. You're going to have 20 on the highway. You're going to turn around. You're going to have 20 back, 20 there again, 20 again, and then 10 back. You take a different route kind of back. So mentally, that's super helpful. So you turn. All I know is that the final turn is like 78-ish miles. And again, your special needs is 62. One thing I really want to say about this bike course is that if you are someone who cares a ton about average speed, if it is windy, you need to like just let go of that, because that's going to mess up your day. If you're like stuck on an average speed and you're going into the headwind, you're going to blow up your legs going out. It'll feel really nice coming back, but just don't get focused on average speed. This is a really good race to, if you don't have power, go off RPE and really understand what like your heart rate goals are.
Awesome. Very good. Does anyone else who's done this course, Megan and Mackenzie, do you want to weigh in on anything on the bike course that we've missed? And then I can
So
go.
on the 10 miles back, which is a different direction, parts of that road can be not great. Like they're good, but they're not great. So if you need a bottle for the last hour, be mindful that on the last 10 miles, that bottle potentially could pop out on that road. But for the most part, going out, the roads are pretty good and the highway's not too bad. The other thing too, in the past has always been kind of like the draft packs in the back for age groupers. So just be really mindful of that, you know, and if you get stuck in one, you get stuck in one, but just kind of be mindful of what that potentially could look like, maybe halfway through the marathon on the back half. So just kind of be mindful, really.
Yeah, the other thing to be mindful of, thank you, Megan, is there are some parts of the road where there's like just a crack down, like the center of it, or I believe it's like between the shoulder and the lane. And we have had some athletes actually go down on that. So just be mindful of road surface altogether. Try not to get stuck into that. I love this course, and I've done this quite a few times. And for me, going out, you knew that you had that tailwind coming back and you were just flying. I wouldn't override it, but I definitely be on the higher range of my power and heart rate allotted. And then on the way back, it's just all about speed. And it's not such a downward incline to where you can't push any power at all. You can still push a decent amount of power, but maybe just on kind of the lower end of your range of Ironman power. Then, as we haven't mentioned before, but we mentioned for Texas 70.3, it's the same for an Ironman. Every 15 miles, there are aid stations. And so there's going to be a porta john. So if you do need to get off your bike, you can do so. But you're coming up to an aid station. Number one thing to do, I typically sit up, because you're going to be in aero this whole time. It's flat enough to pretty much be in aero this whole time. Sit up, stretch out your back a little bit. Any trash I have on me, I get rid of it. I get rid of any bottles if I'm replacing bottles. And then you do need to know from the very beginning, it's going to be this order of water, mortal, food, and you need to yell it out more than ahead of time. I try to get it as quickly as I can. That way, if I drop anything, I have another chance later on to try to grab it again, because that happens, unfortunately. And so, but if I do get it that first go around, then I immediately get it out of transition, because that is a dangerous spot with other people looking down, might be swerving a little bit, might be dropping water bottles. So just really slow down, get into an easier gear, spin through that, and then as soon as you got what you need, then exit out of that. And then I typically will grab my water bottle, put it on my frame, and then if I need to take that water and refill my front hydration system, I'm doing that out on the course when I'm back up to speed, versus looking down and doing that where it's a dangerous part of the course. Last chance trash, make sure anything you have on you, you get rid of it before that final sign is the last cue there. We talked, I know, Paul, you have your hand up. I don't know if you have a question. If you do, please speak. But we did talk about how if it is going to be wetsuit legal, you're going to be so dehydrated because you've just sweated for the last hour and 30 minutes for most of you, right? That up to that first aid station, have goals of how many bottles you need to get through. And you'll actually hear the pros talk about it, where they'll say, because they're making up for the deficit of that swim, they try to get through an extra bottle of hydration. So you'll hear them say 2 to 3 bottles by the time they get to kind of through that first 20 miles. And then they'll get on their nutrition plan after that. So kind of be mindful of, like, I always, for myself, I needed to be through a front hydration system and be okay before I got to that next aid station. Whatever was on my bike, I would put that into the front hydration system so I could get rid of that bottle and be able to grab another bottle. Make sure when you're sitting down with your coach, you're planning out how you're taking your fuel, how you're taking your hydration, what is going with you, and then what you're going to take from these aid stations at the different times in order to hit your nutrition goals, and be very specific about it. You will find with the people, with the wind, navigating everything, you don't want to get behind, because unfortunately in a 70.3, you can kind of fake through it to the end. But if you get behind in an Ironman, that just like really makes for a very rough day. So rather go a little bit slower to make sure you're getting in the nutrition for the next 12, 13 hours that you're going to be out there. Okay. Does anyone want to add to that? Okay. Yeah, I'll crack some.
I just posted, Natasha. For some reason, I think with the cracks in the road and then with the wind, there's typically a lot of crashes on this course. And so just be super mindful of what's going on around you, who you've got around you. And again, try to avoid those cracks, and then look out for the people that are swaying and getting into your way.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Mackenzie. Yeah, I agree. That's our biggest thing, is making sure everyone gets off the course safely on the bike. Luckily, we did that in Galveston, which we're very lucky with that kind of wind, but we trust all of you guys. You never know around who knows how to ride their bike. Okay, T2. You are getting off on concrete. In the years past, it's been very hot. We've actually had people like burn their feet, and so I always recommend wear socks for the bike. For most of you, it's really only the pros that are trying to maybe make a pack that might not wear socks because they're trying to save some time. But for that reason, you might need to do that. And yeah, you're running on concrete, and the transition is on grass. And so you will run through grass. You hand off your bike right as you get across the line, and then you run around the transition towards getting your gear bag and then running into the tent. And again, that's actually a place where we do see people do a full clothing change. Maybe they don't want to run in their tri-gear. They will actually change into a run singlet and run shorts in the tent before going off. And then I would add some sunscreen, some chafe cream, again, if you need to. Have everything you need to start the run. If it's extra salt, extra gel, specifically, you have your cap, your glasses. But if you forget any of that stuff as you're exiting out the tent, there are people there with sunscreen. There's typically Vaseline, etc. there as well. You just ask around. Does anyone have anything on T2 to add? Okay, run course. Coach Megan, do you want to hit the run course and explain what they can expect as far as terrain and shade and surface?
Sure. This is probably one of my favorite run courses out of all the Ironman I've done. Well, maybe except Kona, but you get out of T2 and it's just a crowd of people, and you're going to run down the canal. And when you go down the canal, there's going to be like a small climb up. I call it like a mini grassy knoll. And so you're going to go up that, and there's an aid station right there. And typically at that aid station, there's usually there's a bucket, like a kiddie pool full of ice and maybe even water, people handing out all kinds of stuff. So if you need something, right off the bat, there's an aid station there. I believe there's always an aid station right out of transition too. So when you go up and go that way, then you make a left, curve around a bit, you're on concrete, and then you're out on the road. And the road that you're out on is where the Whole Foods is on your right, and then kind of like the canal part on your left. And so you'll take that down a few miles. You'll hit another aid station, and I think the aid stations are a mile to 1.3 apart, give or take. And so then I forget which road it is, but you'll end up making a left. And you along this whole course, you're going to be passing through neighborhoods, going through a neighborhood, but you'll make a left, and then you'll go around and you'll hit some shade, because you're going to go through some trees as you wind around a little bit more. Then as you wind around a little bit, you'll come up kind of close to the bridge where where the swim is, if I remember correctly. You'll come up where the dragon is, and you'll wind around there, go over the bridge, and then you'll hit a neighborhood and you'll curve back into this neighborhood. So like before you get to the Green Dragon, which is like a mini park, there's shade before there, but there's usually not a ton of shade. And then in the neighborhood has aid stations. It's not very shady there either, unless it's overcast. And then you make a left, and then you make a right, and then you go all the way down. You're basically running along the canal, up over another bridge. You hit Hippie Hollow, which is really cool. Like, make sure like you enjoy that. And then you just keep going along the canal, and then you make this sharp turn up and around. There's a little bit of shade there, and then you come on the back side of another road and then cross back over a bridge, go down the bridge, and then you're on kind of like the back half of the canal, which is the back end, and then you curve around, you go up by the trolley, so you don't like cross over where the trolley is. It's like before the turn, and then you like come back around. And then when you come back around from there, there will be 2 signs that will say second, third loop and finish. So I would say shade wise, there's not a lot unless it's overcast. Take advantage of the aid stations for sure. So like if you start to overheat, water over the head, ice in the left hand. If you need extra salt, make sure you grab for salt or extra electrolytes. If the fuel you're taking doesn't feel good, you can always go to the aid stations and try something at the aid stations. They have porta potties at every aid station. There's water, Mortal, Red Bull, Coke, chips, pretzels, and some other stuff, I believe. But it's 3 loops. There's a ton of people everywhere, literally everywhere. I think there's only one small pocket where there aren't spectators, but it is very spectator friendly. You know, try to enjoy it, use it to your advantage. I don't know. It's a pretty cool run course, I think. So
Thanks, Megan. Ashton, if you can go back to the run course there, I appreciate that. Guys, the biggest thing, Megan has pretty much said it, but it's mostly flat. There's that one little grassy knoll you go up, that's pretty steep. We see a lot of people walking that, so that's totally okay to do so. Aid station right after it, it's shaded, and then you go over the bridge, which is the bridge you walked over to get to the swim, and you actually run where the swim was. You run around the park, and that's where your special needs is going to be. Then it's shaded, and then you're in the neighborhood, and then you come out. So if you had to look at this map, the big circle around the lake, that's neighborhood and very quiet. Then where you see it's along the canal, that's where everybody's going to be. And so I just always kind of break it up into that. And you can always expect that you're going to get a lot of energy that's going to pull you through when you're in the canal, because there's just so many people that people can see you on both sides. So if you can stay mentally locked in and kind of break it up into segments for the big loop around the lake and through the neighborhood, then that will be really helpful mentally to do so. The other thing you guys need to know, because this is mostly on concrete, that is very hard on your legs. However, there are a lot of parts of this course that there is gravel or grass alongside the concrete. And I've found for myself, and I've even watched the pros do it, they might actually hop on. It's not as fast, but it's easier. It minimizes the impact. They might hop on the side and actually run on the grass or on the gravel just to lessen the load on the legs. And then every year someone forgets to do a loop. So remind yourself you're doing 3 loops before going off the finish. And sometimes people forget to finish. They're like, oh, I got to go do another loop. And no, you're done. So look at your mileage on your watch as well. So Mackenzie, Alice, Parker, is there anything specific to the course you think will be helpful for these athletes to know?
Clearly, I care a lot about distances. So it's just over 8 miles each loop for people who need to mentally break it down. This is just how I race, I guess, it turns out. So you can break it down into thirds there. Natasha nailed it with it being concrete. It's harsh on your legs. But I mean, a lot of us don't train in super shoes and then wear super shoes in the race, or carbons, whatever you want to call them. So those do help. And then my only other big tip is that, yes, you do get like a little bit of it's not a climb, it's an uphillish for that bridge going out towards where the swim start is. use that slight downhill to your advantage. That's a great part of the course to try to get your turnover going if you're feeling at all sluggish, because it is a flat course and you can't really get that in other locations. So that is just a great place to really try to get your turnover going again.
Perfect. I remember us yelling that at you last year, Alice. As far as your family, the best place I have found for people to sit and watch is at the Woodlands Marriott. Right outside, there is a big grass hill, and you can go inside, use the restrooms. There's Starbucks, everything inside. Easy to get food on both sides. So it's just a great place for people to watch. And then at the end of the race, I'm jumping ahead. Right by the finish line, there is an Irish bar, and we'll send this to you by email. For you guys that are finished at a decent time and want to see everybody else, we usually book a table where you can then sit there and watch everyone else that's still racing and be able to hang out with your fellow teammates after the race. And so we'll give you the location for that. Can we go to the next slide, Ashton? I don't know if there's anything else to talk about here. Yeah, we talked about the spectating. There we go. We're not going to have a team tent, by the way, out because they don't let us set up team tents at the waterway. So on race day, it's kind of, I'm typically on my mountain bike at the start of the run where you go up that grassy knoll. I'm usually there between that and the special needs and the swim start, kind of back in the area there. And then I'm sure there's going to be a few more coaches there as well that they'll probably make their way around the course. I know Mike always likes to be set up where the Marriott is, and you'll see him at that point. So schedule for team events. We would love to see you all there. It starts with Thursday evening, team dinner. It was amazing last year. We're at the local table. We sent out an email, please RSVP. And then on Friday morning, now some of you are going to just have a swim and a run that morning, and we'd love you to join us. We start at 8 a.m. We do a little bit of a jog. We do some mobility. Everyone gets their wetsuits on. They swim in the water. I would say swim at your own risk kind of thing. For some people, I'll tell you blatantly, like we say, don't swim, don't risk getting sick. For others, they're like, I just need to feel the open water because you've never gotten a chance before this race day to get in open water and understand what that's going to be. So we're going to let you guys decide, talk to your coach about that. For the pros, we have them go swim at a local pool. For some of you guys, your taper might be a little different and you have a bike ride on Friday morning. And so in that, go and do that. Take care of yourself, get it done early, get out of the heat, and then you just time yourself to when you're going to go drop off your things. And I always recommend it either first thing so you can go home and you put up your legs and you're done for the day, or after your shakeout in the morning, go eat, go rest, and then near the end of the day, you want to get some air, go drop off your things, and then call it for the night. So yeah, if you need any raw fuel, we'll have our tent there. Yeah, and then the last thing we're going to ask you guys, this is actually honestly very important. Each one of you, whether you're last, whether you're first, you score points for us, okay? And these points, so you have to update your Ironman profile. It's very easy to do. In order for us to A, score points, which we appreciate it, but B, more so, we can track you. So the tracker, we can just type in NVDM Coaching, and all the athletes that are part of NVDM Coaching will come up, and we can add you to the tracker. We'd hate to obviously miss not being able to track you out there. So if you guys can do that, that'd be wonderful. And then if any of you guys need any NVDM merch, I'll be bringing, we have these water bottles that some of you haven't gotten yet. I've got some swim caps. We've got some hats. We will bring it so we can identify you out on the course, and hopefully you'll be wearing some NVDM gear as well. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Any coaches who have anything to add that I didn't speak about that you think will be helpful for these athletes to know going into Ironman Texas? No. Okay. And we do these so many times. Sometimes I'm like, they go smooth. We give you all the information. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. And then we end up missing everything. So today is one of those days. But I appreciate all the coaches for weighing in on their experience. We're so excited. Ironman Texas is such a great race. It's going to be crazy. I feel like the pro race, if you're like a geek of the sport, the pro race is so stacked. So the fact that you're in a sport that you get to race on the same day with all these pros and have them go by you and just like experience that, I think is such a cool thing. But then also we'll talk about it when we're there too, being able to do it with so many people that that are your teammates, and you're in this together with them. So it's going to be fun. We're excited to meet a lot of you we've never seen before. There's quite a few faces here. I've never seen you before or met you before, and we'll get to spend that time, which will be fantastic. So if you have any questions, please ask your coach. They'll send out a questionnaire. Make sure you set up those calls to dial in your specific nutrition plan, pacing plan, and any last minute items that you have for race day, so you're fully prepared. Ironman is definitely a race that it's everything is in your control. Even the things that are out of your control, it's a decision of like, this is now what I have to do. You just have to realize that. And then I always, whenever I've done an Ironman, I'm like, yep, the training that I did is totally showing up. It's just like a long zone 2 day. There's not like, and even if you have some valleys, it's such a long day, you're going to come out of it. And the expectation of what your body needs to do, it doesn't have to be at this very high peak performance level. It just has to be like a strong zone 2 effort, which anyone can pretty much fall into even on their worst days. It really comes down to the mentality of it. So that's it. That's all I got. We'll see you guys in what, a week and a half. It's going to be awesome. Okay. Thanks, you guys.